Here's something most automation content won't tell you. The tool you choose doesn't just affect your workflow, it determines your ceiling. Pick the wrong one and you're paying premium prices for limitations you won't discover until you're 6 months deep and fully dependent. I spent 4 months running all 3 major automation platforms simultaneously across real business systems, Make, Zapier, and n8n. And what I found changed how I think about scaling entirely. Welcome back to Venture Void, where we cut through the noise and build systems that actually compound. If you're a solo founder or running a small operation and you're trying to automate without hiring a team, this is the video you didn't know you needed. Let's get into it. Here's the problem most people face. They pick an automation tool based on a Reddit thread or a YouTube recommendation, set up a few zaps or scenarios, feel productive for about 2 weeks, and then hit a wall. Maybe it's the pricing, maybe it's a feature that simply doesn't exist on their plan. Maybe their workflows get complex enough that the tool breaks down and they have no idea why. I've seen founders spending $200, even $400 a month on Zapier for workflows that could run for free or near free on a different platform. Not because Zapier is bad, but because they never evaluated the fit. The solution is to actually stress test all 3 tools against the same real business operations before committing. So that's what I did. I ran lead capture automation, client onboarding sequences, invoice and payment triggers, AI content pipelines, and internal CRM updates, all through Make, Zapier, and n8n. Simultaneously over 16 weeks on a real consulting business, generating between $8,000 and $15,000 per month. I tracked cost, reliability, time to build, and flexibility. Here's what I learned. Zapier is the oldest player and still the most recognized name. It works on a trigger and action model. When this happens, do that. The interface is clean, the documentation is excellent, and the number of native app integrations sits around 6,000. If you're not technical, Zapier gets you to a working automation faster than anything else. I set up a lead to CRM workflow in under 11 minutes. No exaggeration. But here's where it gets painful. Zapier's pricing is task-based. Every time a zap runs a step, that counts as a task. On the professional plan at $49 per month, you get 2,000 tasks. That sounds fine until you realize a single multi-step workflow, say a new form submission that updates your CRM, sends a Slack notification, creates a folder in Google Drive, and fires off a welcome email. That's 4 tasks per trigger. If you generate 500 leads a month, you just consume 2,000 tasks on one workflow alone. Businesses with real volume routinely hit the 15,000 task tier, which runs at $199 per month. I personally crossed that threshold in week 6. Beyond the cost, the deeper limitation is logic. Conditional branching in Zapier, what they call paths, is available but clunky. Building genuinely complex, multi-branch logic feels like working around the tool, not with it. For straightforward linear automations, Zapier is excellent. For anything that needs to think, it starts to show its age. Make, formerly Integromat, is where things get interesting. The pricing model is fundamentally different. Make charges per operation, not per task, but their free plan gives you 1,000 operations per month, and their core plan at $9 per month gives you 10,000. That same 4-step lead workflow I described, 1 operation. Immediately you're looking at a cost structure that's 4 to 10 times more efficient than Zapier for complex workflows. The visual builder is the real differentiator. You're working on a canvas. You can see the entire flow, branch it, loop it, add error handlers, and wire together scenarios that would be genuinely difficult or impossible to build cleanly in Zapier. I built an AI content pipeline and make that pull topics from a Google Sheet, sent them to OpenAI for draft generation, formatted the output, and push finished content into a Notion database, all triggered on a schedule. That entire workflow cost me roughly 40 operations per run. On Zapier, that same process would have consumed several hundred tasks weekly. Make also handles data transformation far more gracefully. There's a built-in function library for parsing, reformatting, and manipulating data mid-workflow. When I was cleaning up inconsistent date formats coming from a form tool into my CRM, Make solved it in 30 seconds with a built-in function. Zapier required a workaround involving a formatter step, which, you guessed it, costs another task. Make's learning curve is steeper than Zapier. Plan for 2 to 3 hours of genuine learning before complex workflows feel intuitive. But once it clicks, you build faster. Now n8n. This is the one that surprised me the most, and it's also the one most people overlook because it requires a different kind of investment up front. n8n is open source. You can self-host it for essentially nothing. I'm running it on a small VPS that cost me $11 per month. There are no per task or per operation limits. Run 10 workflows, run 10,000 workflows. The cost doesn't move. The cloud version starts at $20 per month, but the self-hosted route is where the real leverage is. What n8n does differently is give you genuine code-level access inside your workflows. There's a built-in JavaScript and Python node that lets you write actual logic. Not just use a drop-down to format a date, but write the transformation yourself. This matters enormously when you're building automations that touch real business data with edge cases. I built a client onboarding flow in n8n that checked whether a new contract's value exceeded a threshold, routed high-value clients to a separate Notion board, triggered a personalized Loom request via a webhook, and simultaneously created a structured folder hierarchy in Google Drive. That workflow would have required significant workarounds in Zapier and still felt cleaner in n8n than anywhere else. The trade-off is real though. n8n is not for non-technical users. If you've never seen a JSON payload or don't know what an HTTP request is, you will struggle. There's also less handholding in the documentation. You'll spend time on their community forum and GitHub threads, but if you have any technical background, even moderate, n8n gives you capabilities that Make and Zapier simply don't have without external tools. What does all this replace when you're running it properly? You're looking at replacing a virtual assistant doing repetitive data entry, conservatively worth $15 to $25 per hour across 10 to 15 hours per week. You're replacing manual follow-up sequences that would otherwise require an SDR or an email tool subscription. You're replacing the mental overhead of context switching to check if a client onboarded correctly, if an invoice triggered a project kickoff, if a content calendar was updated. Across my own operation, I estimated the automation stack was doing the equivalent of approximately 30 hours of weekly human labor across lead handling, client communication triggers, reporting, and content prep. At a conservative $20 per hour, that's $2,400 per month in labor cost equivalents, running on a combined stack that cost me roughly $55 per month. Here's the catch, and I want to be straight with you, because this is where most automation content falls apart. None of these tools is a silver bullet. Zapier is the right answer if you're a non-technical founder who needs workflows running today and you're doing low to moderate volume, under 1,000 triggers per month across simple flows. Make is the right answer if you want power without deep technical knowledge, you're handling meaningful volume, and you want to keep costs rational at scale. n8n is the right answer if you're technical, you want zero ceiling on complexity, and you want to own your infrastructure. Using all three simultaneously, and which I experimented with, is actually a legitimate strategy for specific reasons. I route simple client notifications through Zapier because the native integrations are fastest. I run all AI content pipelines through Make because the operations pricing makes it cost efficient. I run everything involving complex data logic, webhooks from custom software, and internal business intelligence through n8n. The fragmentation adds a small management overhead, but it means I'm never paying premium rates for simple tasks or hitting capability ceilings on complex ones. If you're starting from zero today and you want my honest single recommendation, start with Make. It scales in both complexity and volume without punishing you financially. Learn it properly, build your first 3 to 5 real workflows, and then evaluate whether n8n's additional power is worth the investment for your specific operation. Don't let anyone sell you that automation is plug-and-play magic. It's a skill with a learning curve and a genuine ROI on the other side of that curve. If this kind of deep, no-fluff breakdown is what you're looking for, subscribe to Venture Void. We go this deep every single video. Drop a comment telling me which platform you're currently using and what your biggest bottleneck is. I read every comment, and the next video might be built around your specific problem. See you in the next one, and the next.